Thank you, everyone, for getting here. I'm Lois Henderson. I'm part of the Tyler County Texas Businesswomen. Amy Bitewood will be doing the timing. She's president of the organization. We're going to start with the U.S. Congressman and senatorial race. What I'd like is you can either stand at your spot. Roxanne, you have a seat there. Okay. You can either stand or come behind the podium, whatever you choose. You have 5 minutes, and we'd like to have a question and answer session afterwards. You've got 30 seconds to ask your question, and then the candidate has 30 seconds to respond. Okay? Is that all right?
During the last 30 seconds, I'm going to raise a hand. When your time is up, I'll raise 2 hands, and if you still keep going, then I'll go for the throat.
All right, so let's start with the U.S. Senator.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Neil Dyke. I'm the Libertarian nominee for U.S. Senate this year. I live in Houston, so I had the opportunity to drive up this morning with Mike Wright, who's a personal friend and was actually my very first boss in a Woodville construction company. He had me out in the warehouse sweating when I was 16 years old. So I'm really excited to be here. I actually turned down a Fox News interview to come talk to you guys because this was committed, and frankly, I like doing candidate forums more than anything else out there. I've got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, Clara and Gwen. I am running in this race because of them. I've founded 7 startups, and I could have stayed home and run my businesses and gone and play with my little girls. And instead, I'm spending 6 months traveling around the state. We've done 3,000 miles in the last 18 days, talking to folks like you, because I got tired of my elected officials kicking the can down the road to my 5-year-old. I got tired of them, regardless which party, driving up debts to levels we have not seen since World War II. I got tired of spending tens of thousands of dollars a year out of my own pocket on health care in a system that's still tied to your job by a bad 1940s tax deal. Something that's frankly, in my mind, morally bankrupt. I've got Republicans defending an indefensible system and Democrats talking about a single-payer option because they're bereft of ideas. This is not the way the world is supposed to work. But the real reason I started running, the simple reason, on my own ballot, my state rep runs unopposed and has for a decade and sits on $2 million in campaign cash in order to chill competition in his own party. 1 out of 3 races in Texas this year does not have a Democrat or a Republican in it. There'd be 1 out of 4 of those races doesn't even have a Libertarian in it. This is not the way the world was meant to work, and we all know this. This morning, we hit the O'Rourke campaign, Better for Texas, and CNN with the largest ever single campaign finance violation complaint to the FEC that's ever been seen in U.S. electoral history, over $10 million. And we did that because we need to get money out of politics, because they're not playing by the rules that they set up, let alone the rules they want me to play by. Money should not determine who's on your ballot. Money should not determine who you get to see on TV and who you have an opportunity to learn about and vote for. And money should not determine, nor should a label, how you pull the trigger. You're going to go into the voter booth in a very short period of time here, a handful of days, and you're going to make a call between yourself, your conscience, and God on who you're going to vote for. And what I'd like you to do is strip away all the labels from the top to the bottom of your ballot. Look at each candidate, every policy they've got from top to bottom. No more single issue voting, giving them an opportunity to try and game you on the one issue they know they can market to you on. Make us all compete on every issue, in every candidate, in every race. I don't want you voting straight party Libertarian. Sorry, Mark and Mike. You gotta win all the votes one by one. And if we can't take them because we're not the right guy, that's fine. I want you to find the candidates with the most common ground with you, and then pull that trigger. And then when you come out of that voter booth, you don't tell me, you don't tell your friends, you don't tell your family. It's your business. It's not mine, and it never will be. That's what I'd like from you this year. And then next year, if you don't like the outcome, I want you to do what I did. I want you to take 6 months out of your life. I want you to leave your little kids at home for bedtime stories. And I want you to come run. Get in the game, because life and politics are participation sports. This is not spectator sports, watching on TV. You're here for a reason. I want you to continue doing that. And if we can't earn your vote, and if we can't do the job you sent us to, and you're still tired of the can being kicked down the road, then you send whoever's in office home, because 28 million Texans in this country, in this state, 28 million. I can guarantee you the best 3 Texans are not on the ballot for U.S. Senate. I can guarantee you that. So if we can't do the job, you send us home. I think I'm the best of the three, but that doesn't mean I'm anywhere near as good. There's probably 30 people in this town alone that can do the job that Ted Cruz can do, or that Congressman O'Rourke can do, or that I can do. Right? But you need to make your call. And if you don't like the results, you need to get in the game. Thank you very much. I'm Neil Dyckman. I'm running for the United States Senate.
Roxanne, you'll be next.
Right now,
You can, whatever you want to do, you can either stand over there or get behind the podium, it's fine.
Is there another congressional candidate here yet?
No.
Oh,
Oh,
I haven't
yes.
met you. How are you? It's nice to see you.
We have the spouses tonight.
I beg your pardon?
The spouses.
Yes, yeah.
Well, hello.
Hello.
I'm Roxanne Babin. They always give me all these talking points, although I don't ever feel like I need them. For specifics, yeah, my husband is Brian Babin. I'm Roxanne Babin. We're from Woodville, and we know most of you that are sitting out here in the audience. I thank you so much for coming today. You know, it is hard to stand up in the public arena, and I do appreciate that, and I appreciate anyone who steps out on any issue at all, because it's not easy, and it does take a lot of time. But where this gentleman encouraged you to vote individually, I'm going to encourage you to vote straight ticket, because quite frankly, let me tell you something. If you look at the platforms of the parties, you're going to see where you stand, and it's not fair. So if you just look at that platform and you look at your values and you see what you believe in, then I think it's an easy choice for most people in East Texas. And certainly it has been an easy choice for our family, and that's why Brian's run as a Republican. So he sends his regrets. He's up on the other side of the district. I think it's Pasadena tonight. We never are quite sure where we're going. We go in different directions. And it's a large district. It's huge. It's one of the most diverse districts in the nation. It goes from Clear Lake, NASA, people who put people, on the moon, rockets in the sky, to people who fish in the river for their dinner at the end of the day. So it is extremely diverse. It is one of the most important, and I think we found that out during the Harvey problems and the hurricane, when it just about shut down East Texas. It almost shut down the rest of the nation. So he's proud to work for you, every one of you, whether you voted for him or not. But what I want you to really understand tonight is do not underestimate what is at stake in this election. The midterms usually turn. It's in favor of the party that's not in power. But you really have two options here. Option one is that the Republicans do hold on to the Senate and the House, hopefully with Senator Cruz and with Brian Babin, because the work will continue. The work that you've seen, the progress that we've made in this short time. Option number two, well, I think we all saw it on TV the last few weeks. And that is really what has taken over the Democratic Party. And if that's what you want to see, if that's what you want in Washington, Washington will be paralyzed, nothing will get done. The focus will be on impeachment and all the gains that we have made in the last less than 2 years will be for naught. They will be reversed. So I think you've seen that. I think you've seen that dysfunction. And I have to say, I think that they're after a lot of the vote. I was told at the polls that it's the women's vote. Well, I'm a woman, and I don't like dysfunction, and I don't like disorder, and I don't like rudeness and incivility. And I want to protect my daughters, but I wanted to protect my sons also. And if we do without due process in this country, then we've given up everything. Everything that our founding fathers fought for and established, and people have died. So I really thank you for coming tonight. It is hard, and I appreciate what you have said about stepping into the public arena. Because what you face on social media every day, what you face in the public, what I've faced even in this district, you can face in his office, and sadly, in the halls of Congress. We've really seen that the Democratic Party is going to stop at nothing, absolutely nothing. They're very serious about taking over, and they've outraised Republicans a lot of money. A lot of it has come from the East and the West Coast. A lot of it has come from names that I could probably mention that you would recognize. And they're really gunning for Texas, and they're gunning for the 36th district. And I will tell you, almost 500,000 new Texas voters have been registered in the last 6 months. In the last 6 months. Money is pouring into their campaigns. So you really have to take this very seriously. So don't underestimate what's at stake. Just imagine what our future would be like if the 2 Supreme Court justices had been liberals instead of conservatives. Just imagine what it would be like if Nancy Pelosi was the Speaker of the House. Just imagine what it would be like if Maxine Waters was chairman of financial services. Wait a minute, don't imagine what it's going to be like, because then you'll go home and have, no, I'm going to keep talking, sorry. So, there are businessmen who need to go to Washington who've met a payroll, who have helped create jobs, who have complied with regulations, that they understand the daily impact of what government does in your life, from this parking lot to your school classroom to your church pew. That impacts your life. And so we need more people who've been from the real world out in Washington, because it makes a difference. And guess what? We've got one. You've got one in Brian Babin, and you've got one in the White House. Now, we may not like his style, but you cannot argue with the results that we have seen. So I hope. Unemployment is the lowest it's been since 1969. Manufacturing and confidence are all-time high. The economy is rebounding. Our communities are safer. We are rebuilding the military. Most of what Brian does in the district offices in Texas have to do with VA problems and Social Security problems and FEMA problems for people that have had to deal with the flooding. So he's here to work for you. His staff is here to work for you. He understands you because he is one of you. There's a lot of work left to be done, and I could really just go on and on and on. But I do have to leave shortly, so I wanted to get in everything I had to say. But if you have any specific questions, and I'm not here when you get to the questions at the end, please call one of his offices. Please call me. Most of you have my cell phone and number in your phone, and we'll be happy to answer those, any of those. But again, he sends us regrets. We love serving you. What we love most is for you to come visit us in Washington, because the best thing is to share this beautiful capital with the people who sent us there. Some of you have done that.
Yeah, thank you.
Come and join us.
Well
Thank you
said.
for being here.
Thank you. Doc, yes. And you have 7 minutes.
I will try not to
Well,
use
7
that.
minutes, 9 seconds. I gotta be fair.
I'm Dr. Charles Justice. I'm happily representing Dana Steele, who's running as a Democrat against Brian. And you know, a little bit about myself. Obviously, Roxanne knows you folks, so you know her. A little bit about us. We have 3 boys. You talked about your 2 kids. This is about the children, by the way, right? I am an Air Force veteran. I graduated from the United States Air Force Academy in 1974, so I'm really old. And then I went on and I flew fighters for several years until NASA said, I'm going to fly a space shuttle. And they came and talked to me and said, you want to come do flight research for us? And I said, heck yes. So I have 10 years in the Air Force, 30 years at NASA. So that's my background. I'm a NASA doctoral fellow, which means I flew stuff in space and designed stuff that went into space. And I trained every single astronaut that ever flew in space on the space shuttle. So that's my background. Dana is some of you may have heard her. She was a voice of Houston rock and roll, and it turns out her signal went all the way past Woodville. So if you ever listened to KLOL, you probably heard her, and that's where most people think of her, is as a rock and roll DJ. But she did that for about 20 years, and then she said, well, I got to do something else. You know, so we had our first son, and that kind of stops you from rock and roll. And she, you know, after he got old enough, she started a business. It was a .com, and that .com is the only .com. How many people were here at the .com bust about 2000, right before 9/11? $6 trillion out of the economy overnight almost. It was terrible. So big crash. We had the economy going really good, we thought, and then it's gone. So she is the only person I know that not only kept her .com going, but she was making money the whole time. She's an incredible businesswoman. And then, after that, it was doing so well that a major aerospace company bought it from her. She became a vice president of an aerospace firm. From rock and roll DJ to vice president. You know, the girl's got some range on her. So she got over that and decided that she wanted to take care of the boys a little bit more. Dropped out of aerospace, and we raised our boys. We've finally gotten the last one into college, son 3.0, thank you. And off we went, and she wanted to do something else. We found out that in our district, there was, or in our area, I shouldn't say our district is here. It's 8,000 square miles, as Roxanne was saying. It's bigger than Connecticut. It's a monster. We've got, you know, I don't know how many miles you put on your truck, but we've got like 110,000 now on ours, going back and forth trying to meet everybody. But she found out that some of the folks in our area, next to NASA, the kids didn't have access to the internet. All the homework nowadays is on the internet in their area. They didn't have any access to it. They didn't have laptops, nothing. She said, that's unsafe. So we're going to give needy kids a laptop. And we'll give them maybe, you know, 1 or 2 a year. That'll be nice. 350 laptops later. We're still doing that every chance we get, because when we find a need, when we see an opportunity gap, that's what we do, is we fill it. So what does Dana believe? She believes that healthcare plus education equals jobs. It's that simple. If you have healthy, educated people, they work. They make businesses. They make rock solid businesses. We don't have the strongest healthcare in the country. Our country doesn't have very strong healthcare. We don't have a very good education base in our country, in this area. We need to maybe shore that up a little bit so we can get the jobs going as well. I'm here for Dana. I'm going to give up my time now, but thank you very much for coming, and I'll talk to you afterwards. I'll be here.
Thank you. If y'all don't mind, I'll come around the front here. That way there's nothing separating us. My name is Mark Tippett, and I am the Libertarian candidate for governor of Texas. And it will, as you hear me speak, it will not surprise you that I'm running with Neil Dykeman and Mike Wright. Our philosophies are pretty much the same. I am bilingual and bicultural. I was born in Mexico, and I was raised on both sides of the border. I understand Texas issues more than most. I've lived them my entire life. I understand our border security issues. I understand our immigration issues. I understand our international business issues. And I understand, unfortunately, our war on drugs issues. I'm an international legal and business consultant. But most proudly, I am a husband and a father of 6 children. And I have 7 children. 7 grandchildren. 3 of my children are already out of college. And 3 are in college now. My youngest daughter is over here. She goes to Sam Houston State. And my youngest son, he's studying physics at UT Dallas. My children range from everywhere from the medical field to construction field to engineering. My second daughter is a metallurgical materials engineer working up in General Dynamics in Dallas. And I am in the legal field. My wife is a teacher. My wife is a teacher at Leander High School. I understand the public school issues probably better than most, as I have put 6 kids, sorry. Don't tell my wife I keep getting those numbers mixed up. As I have put 6 kids through the school system. And even though it may sound self-serving for me to say that we need to pay teachers more, we need to pay teachers more. We entrust our future to those teachers. We have a system that if you talk to the Republicans and if you talk to the to the incumbent governor, our school systems is wonderful. We're graduating more kids. Everything is peachy keen and wonderful. The Democrat side, they use tricky terms of saying we need to invest more, which is a term meaning we need to rob from you more. We need to get more taxes to pay more, is what we need. That our Constitution of Texas says that we must provide an efficient and free education system. Unfortunately, the politics, as usual, have focused too much on the free. They have focused on how to take our money to sink into the school systems without any focus on the efficiency. I hope that we pay enough taxes, there's enough money to educate our children properly, if properly done. My kids ask me, Dad, why are we still being educated in classrooms like they have for hundreds and hundreds of years? We can learn more from YouTube. We can learn more in different ways. We can make it a much more efficient system. My father was and I only want to take the 5 minutes. My father taught me how to tell time. My father was served in the Navy under John McCain's grandfather and father. And I would ask him a lot about politics, what he thought of politics. And he would tell me a two-party system is not sustainable. They blame each other. The problems, for instance, the war on drugs that was started 50 years ago has been compounded by every Republican or Democrat along the way. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, do you know of a chair that can stand on two legs? He says, the only thing that can stand on two legs is a ladder. And that ladder has to be leaned up against the taxpayers. That is what holds it up. Thank you very much. I'm Mark Tibbetts. I'm the Libertarian candidate for governor.
Thank you for your service, and we agree to be Navy, right?
Every chance we get.
I graduated from West Point, 69, a little older. I'm running for Railroad Commissioner. I'm Mike Wright. Neil Dykeman asked me to run for office. The party looked at my resume and decided I was best qualified for Railroad Commissioner. What I've been doing is reading the minutes of what the Railroad Commission does, looking at the issues, and rather than saying I'm better or so forth, I look at the issues and come up with a solution. A little bit about the Railroad Commission. They don't do anything at all with railroads. Oil and gas, pipelines, mining, etc. Currently, they meet once a month, roughly. Every now and then they have 2 meetings. Some months they don't have one. Meet about 14 times a year. They meet precisely at 9:30. They go into executive session at 11:25, and they usually adjourn at 11:35. They have a 400-item agenda. 99% of the time they vote 3-0. Usually once a month they vote 2-1. Not a whole lot of oversight that I see. The big issue as I see it is water in West Texas. They don't have enough water. 90% of the wells that are drilled in West Texas now involve fracking. Fracking requires water. So they take water, they pump it in the ground with sand and some chemicals, break up the rocks, the water and the gas comes up. For every barrel of oil that's produced, there's 4 gallons of water that comes up with it. And right now, the industry is paying $4.4 billion a year to truck that water out and put it in a injection well, a reservoir, or something. My solution is get a pipeline system versus a bunch of trucks, bring it to a central location. Most of that water has salt in it. It's brackish. It doesn't have as much as the ocean. Put it through a desalinization process, treat it and use it for human consumption, agriculture, and use it for fracking also. And until I know how brackish it is and so forth, I can't come up with a number. But there's roughly the $4.4 billion they're spending now, and they're spending 13 cents a gallon to get the water for fracking. There's a lot of money being spent. And you can borrow money from the federal government for water treatment. Most communities in the country, that's where they get their money, on long-term loans. And we can take that water, make it usable, and put it to work. Serve a lot of folks and save money at the same time. In all fairness to the industry, it's boomed out there so fast, the infrastructure cannot handle everything. There's not enough pipelines to move all the product to the refineries and to the coast to export it. They're doing a lot of flaring. I just came from West Texas. Flaring a lot of gas because they can't put it in the right places, which is polluting the air and so forth. I'm realistic. My Democratic opponent's solution, we just won't let the oil and gas industry have any water, so they can't do any more fracking. 250,000 of the best paying jobs in the state would be reduced quite a bit. Our economy would be 25% of the economy of Texas is involved in the oil and gas industry. So it's important, but I think there's a more responsible way to do it, and that's what I'm pushing. I'll tell you, I'll take exception. There is no party that has the best candidate for every race. If you believe that, so you really got to go and look. If you want to just pull a ticket, that's fine. But I've seen a lot of bad politicians from that. So do what you want to do. But I think we deserve a look. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You have a real deep voice there. Makes me want to get up. First of all, I want to just say good afternoon to everyone in here, all my neighbors. I'm proud to represent you in the Texas House of Representatives. And Amy sent me a picture several hours ago, several days ago, I believe. Yesterday, and it was a picture of her daughter standing near, I think, one of my campaign signs back in 2010. And it got me thinking about the path and the journey that we've taken over the last 8 years. I can remember back in 2010, a lot of people were upset. They were upset at top-down government from DC and Austin, trying to control everything from your medical plan to how your business was going to open and stay open, regulating the regulations, and you wanted to change. I think I remember at that time the unemployment rate here in Tyler County was nearly 12.5%. People were hurting. Grandmothers and grandfathers, moms and dads didn't know how they were going to send their grandchildren and children, respectively, to college. And for that matter, grandparents and grandfathers were worried if they were going to be able to leave it better than the way they found it to their grandchildren. So I was very honored that you elected me to represent you that first session. And yes, that first session, we had to go in and cut $27 billion from the state budget. Why did we have to go in and make so many deep cuts? Well, because small businesses and households had to make the same cuts due to the financial collapse of 2009 and 2008 and 2009. Were some of those cuts painful? Probably so. But the point is, what's important is not a politician that comes up here and tells you what they think you want to hear, but goes to Austin and does what needs to be done. So with that, we made those cuts. We felt that if we lit if we expanded individual liberty, cut regulations, the people would figure it out. And whatever success that we're having in this county or any of the other 4 counties that I represent in this entire state is not due to politicians in Austin or in Washington, D.C. It's great that they safeguard your liberties, but the real credit goes to all of these people in here, the workers, the laborers, the small businessmen and women, and most importantly, the taxpayers. So I want to thank you for growing our local prosperity. It also meant going to Austin and making sure that we have local community safety. For the state of Texas, part of that dealt with the border. That is border security. Immigration is left to the federal government, but border security. I believe when I arrived to Austin in 2011, I think we're spending somewhere under $100 billion on border security. Now we're spending upwards to $800 million. We have your Texas Rangers. We have your DPS troopers. We have boots on the ground with electronic devices securing the Texas border, making sure that we keep out all these bad guys and maybe some bad gals too. MS-13, all sorts of ruthless gangs. And I know what people will get up tonight and tell you. That's down there on the border. Well, no. You have the opportunity to go into the room and you look at that intelligence report that Steve McCraw, Director of DPS, provides you, and you see a lot of bad stuff that generates from the border happens here, right here in East Texas. So we've got that, we have those resources on the border. And then on the issue of education, we still have the big fix that we have to do next session on updating our Byzantine and arcane school finance formulas. But here's the point to know. Comanale, Warren, Spurger, Chester were being crushed by what we call a small ISD penalty. As of last year, that doesn't even exist anymore, and those schools will now be funded like all the other 1,200 schools equally. So I'm going to cede back my time to the timekeeper. I'm looking forward to answering your questions. Thank you very much, and I'm honored to represent you in the Texas House of Representatives.
Hello, everybody. I am not Shirley Layton. I'm her campaign manager. My name's Adan, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about Shirley. Shirley is a Navy veteran, and she's a telecommunications professional that was in the private sector for many years. What she did in the private sector was she built coalitions and brought people with different conceptions of how to do things, and she made them work together to accomplish a goal. That's what she wants to do for East Texas. There are many issues that are, you could say, partisan, but there's a lot of issues that we can come together and work on together. And Shirley has 3. Those are education, infrastructure, and healthcare. With education, we can improve education here in Texas so that we can be the best. We can also improve how we treat our teachers. Are there any teachers here? TRS? Do y'all have problems with TRS or with TRS care and rising premiums? That's unfair, because that's a burden that we're putting on our teachers, because right now TRS is actuarially unsound because there's a part of it that's not funded. So the long term that could be an issue. Well, we can work together with Republicans and Democrats. Everybody can work together and get that fixed. As far as teaching to the test, y'all have heard about teaching to the test. Maybe we would benefit from relieving some of that anxiety on our teachers of teaching to the test, and let our students flourish in a locally controlled community school, or let schools have the autonomy to teach how they want to teach. As far as infrastructure, we're still doing Harvey recovery. Harvey recovery, we're looking at, that's something we can work on together. Desilting our creeks and rivers, expanding our reservoirs. How about where the Natchez goes right here? I live on the other side of it, and when Harvey hit, it got filled really, really big, and people were afraid that they had to open them doors, and so everybody got flooded down the Natchez River farther south. So working together to help our infrastructure, to invest in Texas, also investing so that we can have economic development. That's part of Shirley's platform. And we can work to bring high-tech businesses in this area so that there can be more economic development, more economic growth. And then healthcare. This district is very, very large. Just to give you a grasp of how big it is, Delaware is smaller than our district. So it's a Texas Senate district. It goes all the way from Athens to Orange. Rhode Island is also smaller than our district. And as far as population, Wyoming has less people than our district. Our district has like 800 and upwards of 800,000 people. It's a very, very large district. So the needs are very big. But going back to healthcare, there's been hospitals in our district that is largely rural that have closed down. So we want to make sure that people have access to healthcare. Those are the issues that Shirley is running on. She cares about East Texas. She's passionate. She's about service. She's about our communities here. And I'm very proud to be a part of her campaign. And if y'all have any questions, ask. And whenever the time is for you to ask. And vote Shirley Layton. Thank you.
Go ahead, Star.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Smith, and I'm running for the office of mayor, excuse me, for the city of Woodville. Unlike Roxanne, I will need bullets, because even though I've spoken to large groups of people before, this is the first time I've ever spoken in the capacity of running for an office. I was born and raised here, right here in Woodville, Texas, to parents J.D. and Evelyn James. My deceased husband and I lived in Fred, Texas, downtown Fred, Texas, not the suburbs, for over 45 years. After his death, I chose to move back to Woodville, not to Silsbee, where we had a lot of friends that lived. I chose to move back to Woodville. I was also very fortunate at that time to be able to purchase the home that belonged to my grandparents, Fred and Emma Raspberry. And that's where I live right now at 910 Peach Street, downtown Woodville. This home has been in my family for over 70 years. I retired in 2003 from the Sparger Independent School District as business manager. During that time, I had to attend all board meetings. Cody, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I have experience in parliamentary procedures and how meetings should be conducted. I'm also very experienced in budgeting of taxpayers' money, and that I think is very important to be able to know how to do those things. I'm well versed in communicating with people on all levels, from students to parents to officials in Austin dealing with the Texas Education Agency. Prior to working at the school, I've got many, many years in the banking industry. As a matter of fact, at one point in time, I worked right here at Citizen State Bank in Woodville, part-time. I am committed to making our city government more open and transparent to the citizens of Woodville. I would like to be your voice in all decisions that are to be made on matters that will affect us all. I want to be a full-time mayor, and being retired, that will afford me that opportunity. I respectfully ask for your vote and support on November 6th. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Paula Jones. I currently work at Woodville Walmart, where I've been for the last 14 years, 13 actually. I have been a part of this town from birth. I was born at Tyler County Hospital before they stopped doing obstetrics. I was a former member of the Woodville City Council, and I served until I got married in 2013, which I filled out my term asking the Attorney General if it was okay. I lived part-time here in Woodville and finished out my term. I moved to Commonwealth, that's why I left my seat. I served for 7 years. Once things progressed, I moved back to Woodville because this is my home. I've lived here all my life. My parents' home is here, my grandparents is from here. I currently am seeking the office of mayor. I have been a Chamber of Commerce member and also as past president. I want people to understand that when you come into that office, you take the same oath that the President of the United States takes. So we have to abide by the rules and regulations. Sometimes it's a hard call for the citizens because they want it to be transparent, which we want to be transparent, but we still have to follow the guidelines of what the state, the federal government holds us to. As your candidate and as hopefully your future mayor, I will try to let the citizens have as much voice as possible, but I will still follow the rules and regulations of the government as it is stated to us, so we don't get in trouble. Because if you don't do the proper things for, to protect yourself, you can cause us to be in a federal lawsuit, which will cost the taxpayers money that they cannot afford. So, I just want y'all to know that I am here for y'all. If you have any questions, you can ask me later. I'm not good at writing bullet points, and I'm not retired like my candidate. I still work at Walmart full-time, so I've been running back and forth, so thank you.
I'm the last one.
Unless I should be.
Did she want to go before me?
No, that's fine.
I'm Charles Hudson, but known by most of you probably as Buck. Thanks to my grandpa, I have that nickname, and it has stuck with me for 55 years. I'm the Republican candidate for Commissioner of Precinct 4, which is the Fred, Spurger, and Warren area. This is my wife, Donna. We have 3 children, Chris, Brianna, and Savannah. A lot of people tell me that my wife has been my biggest asset during the campaign because she has really worked hard with me. I think I'm the last or the lone remaining candidate as far as from the primary. I have a Democratic opponent. I see he's not here tonight. He tells me he's doing all this for fun, but I'm doing it to win. I want to be the commissioner. I've been involved in a lot of the different civic organizations in the county. For the last 30 years, I've been the ag science teacher at Spurger. Worked with Ms. Barber for many years. Actually, I was at Woodville for a few. But I can agree with all of y'all, you need to pay us more. I've always thought, and I know this is probably getting off my subject, but to me, it is a shame that teachers are some of the lowest paid people on the planet, entrusted with the most important gift or job that could be given to them. I know a lot of our problems in education today don't really stem from maybe just the students, it's family, home life, and all of that, but yes, y'all do need to pay us more. But if I become commissioner, I'm going to retire in December, so I truly want to be commissioner. I love Tyler County. I was born and raised here. Was gone to college for about 7 years, but I want to do a good job for the people of Precinct 4. People ask me, well, what are you going to do for us? Well, everybody wants their road fixed. I'm not sure if I can do that until I get in there and I know how much money I've got to work with. It's much more than roads. There's a lot of responsibility with the budget and different things that you have to do. So, I've been just telling people, hey, talk to me when I get in there, and then we'll talk. I would love to pave everybody's driveway, but that's against the law. So I've heard that people are going to get that from other candidates. But anyway, I want to be commissioner. Hope that I can do a good job and bring a fresh face to the court. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tina Cleaver. I have never done this before.
Go ahead. It's easy.
I'm running for Coney School Board. I figured, start locally, work my way up, maybe I get lucky. But anyhow, I'm retired military, Army, I'm a veteran. My husband is too. And after we retired, we moved back from Coleman. You know, I graduated from Coleman, as did all my brothers and sisters, and my daughter did as well. So I see the issues in Coleman school. Not that it's doing a bad thing, but you know, a little shake-up never hurts. You know, a little healthy competition actually makes everybody kind of step back and say, okay, how can we do this a little bit better? You know, our children are our future. Our focus should be on our children in whatever form it takes. Not all children learn the same way. We have to learn what is the best way to help each individual child be the best that they can be. Coleman is one of the highest grading, so obviously we do a very good job, but you know, there's always room for improvement, you know, regardless of what we do. I also believe that our school needs more transparency. You know, who knows when school boards are held? You know, it's something that's not really announced, maybe on a school door, you know, but other than that, there's, you know, who gets the parents involved, you know, with all the issues with the school. And there's a lot of issues that can actually be announced to everybody in the school district that's not. Like I said, I'm not a very good speaker because this is my first time to actually stand up in front of a lot of people. I'm sure that it'll get better when, as time goes. So hopefully I get elected and I can do a good job for everybody. So thank you.
We have one more candidate, the last one.
And hi y'all. I am Judge Stephen Kirkland. I am a candidate, Democratic candidate for the Texas Supreme Court Place 2. I've been a judge down in Houston for 13 years, and let me start by saying I'm sorry I'm late to the party today. I started the morning in Alpine out of far west Texas. Plane was delayed getting back into Houston, so the amount of time to get out here got shortened considerably, and then I get here and it's dark and I can't find you. So, but I did find you. Thankfully, the folks at the emergency room knew where to tell me to go. So if nothing else, I'm resourceful, right? I've been a judge for 13 years, and every Friday the Texas Supreme Court issues their opinion. And I get up Saturday, I don't get around to reading them Friday afternoon, I'll get up Saturday morning and read them. And I'm enough of a law nerd that I actually read this stuff. And I'm drinking my coffee, reading their opinions, and I'm trying to figure out what they're doing. And over the years, it's gotten to where I'm scratching my head trying to figure out what they're doing more and more often. Because too frequently, I can't use the tools that I learned back in law school to understand where they're going. Constitutional precedent, the Constitution, the statutory interpretation, rules of that, what the language says, doesn't tell me why they're getting the results they're getting. So I step back and I look at it and I determine, well, let me look at, see who's winning and who's losing. So maybe that's going to tell me something. And it started to make a pattern. And then it dawned on me that perhaps the winners and the losers have something to do with the political party of the folks that are on the court. And that's when I got mad. Because if there's a place in our society that we expect politics to be left at the door, it's the courthouse. There is a document in our society that we hold sacred, whether you're Republican, Democrat, whether you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, wherever you come from. It's the idea of America that we all hold sacred. And it's our U.S. Constitution. And embedded within every part of our Constitution are some fundamental concepts. Fundamental fairness, equality, that we're all equal before the law, and we're all entitled to protection of the law. Those are concepts that are built into our Constitution, and they're built into the fabric of our society. And what we have today in Austin with the Texas Supreme Court is a court that is picking their favorites, they're choosing who they want to win, and then they're bending the law to get to that result. Now that's bad for any of us. Anytime judges make political decisions, everybody loses. And I don't care whether it's your politics that's winning that day, ultimately you end up losing. We all have to hold to the Constitution. Now, the judges that are up there are going to tell you that's what they're doing, but they're not. If lawyers across the state are saying, I don't understand what the Supreme Court is doing, there's something wrong with what the Supreme Court is doing. That's why lawyers across the state, when the state bar polled lawyers across the state, I won, I beat my opponent 2-1. Houston Bar Association, same thing. Every legal group that endorses, every lawyers group that endorses, has endorsed my campaign as opposed to the recent appointee by the governor. So I'm running for Texas Supreme Court because I think Texans deserve a court that doesn't depend on politics. I think Texans deserve a court that depends on the law. Quick background on who I am. I am Judge Stephen Kirkland. I am a balding gay man from Abilene, Texas, who 30 years ago had to learn to love myself enough to come out and sober up. Yes, don't look shocked. I said it. I am losing my hair. I struggled with that, actually. Seriously, I did have to come out in order to sober up. And I had to sober up to come out. And I had to do both so I could have a life. And so I could be a meaningful part of my community. What I've done with that second chance, I didn't, by the way, get to sobriety on my own. The law helped me, my family helped me, my friends helped love me over the fear that the law gave me to get me started. And I got there. And so I had a second chance. And what I've done with that second chance is I give back. Every time I have a chance to talk about who I am, I talk about sobriety. I talk about recovery, I talk about alcoholism, and I talk about how we can get to a place where we don't have to depend on, where we can be independent of addiction. I created a low-income housing agency in the city of Houston that's put 750 units of affordable housing on the ground in the middle of the city of Houston. I created Houston's Homeless Court. It's a court that's taken 1,000 people out of our jails, kept them in their shelters, and hopefully off our streets, working their programs to get to a productive life. And I've served as a judge for over 13 years. In that 13 years, I've developed a record where lawyers have said he calls it balls and strikes as they're supposed to be called. He's a straight shooter. You can count on him to read your papers, know the law, and do it right. That's why I have the support of lawyers across the state, and that's why I'm asking you for your support. Let's take the second chance that I've been given, and let's put it to use for the entire state of Texas. I'm Judge Stephen Kirkland. I need your vote. I want your support.
Some questions and answers. You've got 30 seconds for your questions. Identify yourself and where you're from. Any of the candidates they have 30 seconds to respond. Anybody interested? Question? Yes.
I got excited. Candidate for Railroad Commissioner here. David Gardner, I'm calling now. I was actually going to ask you, is there anything you think we could do to lower or make it easier to drill oil wells? I mean, I know we'll never be able to compete with Saudi Arabia, but all I heard from you was you want to stop the water going to do the fracking and...
No. The Democratic component wants to deny water for fracking.
All right.
I have absolutely no problem with using water for fracking, but when you produce the oil, you're generating 4 gallons of water, and I want to clean that up and reuse it versus burying it in the ground.
Second part of my question.
Okay.
The pipeline, who's gonna be paying for that? I mean, don't think the companies that are out here doing this are looking for the most efficient way to get that water.
The issue is we need to form. I'm just using the West Texas Water Conservation cooperative. And when you have a pipeline, is we jointly own it so we can use it. You know, and they gotta be tied together to be efficient. And there may be a bunch of gas pipelines out there that are abandoned that we can use. I gotta get in and get a survey of everything.
Right. I know nobody else here really cares about that, but.
That's okay, David, time.
My time,
Anybody else? Would you like?
I would. I'm Robbie Dillard. I'm from here in Woodville, Texas. To the two senatorial candidates, you made it sort of sound like Ms. Layton was for vouchers. Is that a true statement or not? And where do you stand on vouchers? And I'll shut up and let you answer.
So I go first. So we're running for Texas Senate. So it's the legislature. But as far as the voucher program, no, she is for funding public schools so that our public education system is funded in a fiscally responsible way while lowering your property taxes, which is possible. Because there's unfunded mandates that the state government hasn't paid, which has forced your school districts to recoup more money from your property taxes. So Ms. Layton is for public education and for lowering your property taxes. Thank you.
Anybody else wants to respond?
Right here, he's going to.
Go ahead.
Running for U.S. Senate, I'm a little bit careful talking about state issues, but I'll weigh in a little bit here. My grandmother founded 2 schools. I went to one of them up through 8th grade and then switched to public school. My daughters are in they're just started kindergarten at the public elementary school that my father attended several decades ago. This is an issue I understand really well. Every child is unique. One of my children is very unique and has lots of issues. Every class is unique. My grandmother taught me that. Every school is unique. We cannot run dollars, regulations, and Common Core up through Washington and Austin and back down to Woodville and expect to get the results that you're looking for. It just won't work. There's a reason that teacher salaries have grown at a lower trajectory than the overall cost of education. That cash is going somewhere, and that cash needs to be spent right here, and it needs to be determined, and where it's spent, how that classroom is run, what it's taught, needs to be determined right here. There's nobody else but your teachers and your principals who's ever going to be able to make those calls. So it is not appropriate for a U.S. Senate candidate to tell you how to run your business in Woodville, and I will make sure that they do not do it.
Any other questions?
Yeah, well.
Oh, did you? I'm
yes.
sorry.
Well, yeah, because I think I'm the only one, at least here, that's cast a vote on this particular issue 3 times last session. Your state constitution is very explicit about a public system of schools, so that cancels out right now. That makes it a constitutional issue. That's why those 3 times I voted for any diversion of money away from the public system to another system until we fix the one that we have fiscally, and making sure that the money is spent efficiently as expressly stated in your state constitution.
And personally, I'm sorry, not as a candidate, but as James White?
No, again, I can't separate myself from being a state representative. So the point is, I have all recorded votes against taking money out of the public system into the private system. Just real quickly here, when we do the budget, what happens is the budget chairman goes to the well of the house and says, we estimate so many kids will come into the public system. We don't count all of the kids from 5 to 17 years old. We say the kids that are coming into the public system, and then we fund the kids that actually show up. So the way we fund in your constitution is not consistent with a voucher program, and I will continue to vote against that because it's not a constitution.
Any other questions? Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you all for supporting our club.
If you want a yard sign or some more information, we've got it over here.